Well, there's a problem. Sometimes we listen and we get influenced by what we're listening to. I mean, this is why we talk on YouTube. Opinions. But when we don't do our own research and when we don't dive a little deeper, I think we actually get blinded. Well, today we're going to be talking about the TikTok situation. The ban on TikTok, or should we ban it, should we not? Is it bad for us, good for us? And what I may say may surprise you, but I'm going to come back with some facts and some thought patterns that we should all be thinking as we hear about a TikTok ban. I want you to think of this a little bit different than what has been shown to us through the news. Let's jump into it. Today's video starts right now.
River's gonna cry when you're gone.
Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you are new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of the video. Now, today's video may be a hot topic, and I want you to discuss it in the comments. I want you to comment below what your thought patterns are, and we're gonna go a little deep on the TikTok ban. Now, I'm gonna tell you the pros and cons. I also am gonna tell you my thought pattern, and we're gonna dive a little deeper on some other key facets that no one's talking about. Again, this overregulation and this legality of our lawmakers. I think this is why Congress's approval ratings are like under 15%. So my thoughts on TikTok. Let's talk about that first. TikTok on the American side now. I know on the Chinese side, there's some good things on TikTok, but on the American side, TikTok is not important. It's making our kids' brain cells literally go to nothing. It's making us dumbed down as a society because everything's done in like 10 or 15 second clips. Nothing of value is actually on TikTok on the main trending list. Now, there may be some great content throughout TikTok, I don't know. But overall, the content is meant to make us almost dumb as a society. One thing I've noticed about people who are normally on TikTok, they can't focus, they can't look you in the eye. A lot of our Gen Zers, they don't know how to focus and talk and communicate because they're in such a generation of swipe, 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 to where all they know is 10, 15 second increments. Their eyes are never focused on what and whom they're speaking to. So I actually believe it's a fall to have TikTok on our phones. I've told you that. I believe that it's terrible for you because everything that we do, considerable things like shorts, all reels, all those things are actually not good. I think that snippet lifestyle, the 15-second news, the 45-second segments, I think all of that's actually really bad for us. I think long-form content is a lot better because it helps us learn, helps us research, helps us dive a little deeper. I just don't like TikTok, personally. We don't have it on our phones. We don't have it on, of course, our children don't have smartphones. So why would I say it's wrong to ban it? Okay, a few things. Should we know exactly what China is getting off TikTok and the surveillance part of that? Absolutely. We should be smart enough to stop surveillance on any app if that was the case. But here's my problem. Our lawmakers are wanting to ban TikTok. Now, if you go back and look, and I'm going to show you a little snippet I saved, and it's this right here. I'm going to put it on the screen. This is basically showing that the president has authoritarian actions to, if any and everything is deemed a national security risk. If a website, an opposition, maybe even a conservative, in this case, TikTok, these things can be taken off or taken away or suppressed based on an executive order or the president's liking through the national security. He can deem it a risk. Now, do you not see that as a problem? Right now we're talking about TikTok, and so everybody really bipartisan wise, you know, Democrats and Republicans can say, yes, we don't want kids on TikTok. Yes, this is something to save us from surveillance. I get all that. In a perfect world, that sounds great. We don't live in a perfect world. We live in a polarized world, and we live in a time where the opposition party is seeing persecution after persecution after persecution. So the opposition party is facing persecution. You don't believe that if we pass this full pass goes through, that this could cause major ramifications of what's next 2 or 3 years from now? What's next in 4 years from now? The decision could be made that the president says, well, you know, that conservative commentator, he is a national security risk because he's bringing riots and he's bringing this opposition, you know, almost like coup to the forefront. We've got to get rid of him. That Twitter, I mean, Elon Musk is spreading hate. We've got to get rid of him. That other social media site, you know, we've got to get rid of them. And what we're doing is we're suppressing the opposition in the name of national security, to then therefore it only leads, what, Facebook? Meta? What I'm saying is we're giving a power to the executive branch or to Congress to overregulate, to pretty much say what is suppressed and what is not. It takes away your freedom of speech and your rights to say, you know what, I don't like you, so therefore I'm going to take you off. I'm going to ban you. I'm going to suppress you. That's exactly what this bill is doing. Now, can and should we say, look, this company should not own this, a Chinese company should not own this because they're tied to the CCP? Well, my gosh, don't give me that. Don't let that be the excuse, because here we are allowing the Chinese CCP to buy American farmlands. So you're telling me that our government and our senators and congressmen are more worried about the fact that this company is putting dancers and surveilling us through our phones, and we can't do anything about it, but we can allow them to just buy lands and no one's talking about it? Do you know they tried to pass a bill that China can't buy farmlands anymore? Well, guess what? It didn't pass. They're still buying farmlands. Now, there's been some states like Florida coming in saying that we're not going to allow China to keep buying our lands. However, there's still a lot of states where China is buying more and more and more farmlands. You know, there's been over 140,000 smaller farms that's been closed down, American farms, in the last 5 years. What that means is the more those close down, the more either commercial buyers are buying it or more overseas buyers are buying it. Foreign businesses are coming in and buying our lands. However, we're worried about a 15-second TikTok clip that is going to surveil us. Now, again, I'm not for TikTok. But when we start going down a slippery slope of saying, well, this is in the form of national security, we've got to get rid of TikTok, but then we'll allow the same people that we're saying TikTok is bad because the CCP, we're allowing them to buy our farmlands? We're allowing them to surveil us with balloons? Did you know that the border has had 1,000 drones per month coming across the southern border? 1,000 surveillance drones a month coming across the southern border. And we're worried about TikTok? I think the point of TikTok is a psyop, because what they're going to do is going to say, well, TikTok's bad, let's make them divest, let's make them sell, or let's ban them. What that's saying is we're setting up for the future if we don't like Blaze, Daily Wire, a conservative commentator who's got 2 million views. I don't like this person or that person. I don't like Twitter because Elon Musk is allowing conservatives to speak freely there, and that's dangerous. Do you see it's a slippery slope that I think we can't solve? But again, we won't talk about the farmland. We won't talk about the southern border. That's what blows my mind, and that's where I come back and say you cannot ban TikTok. First of all, as a parent, if you're allowing your children to have TikTok just because you're scared to say, well, we need to ban it, but it's bad for them, but hey, I can't say it, it's their phone. First of all, that's a bad parent. So therefore, you need to handle that situation. But your kids being on TikTok, your kids being on Facebook, your kids being on any social media, it's not good for them. Why are you allowing that to happen? So it has nothing to do with just TikTok. They shouldn't be on any social media because they're going to be exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to, especially being young. Now, the surveillance issue, yes, you've got to figure that out. But if our government can do all the things that it does, why are we not just saying, okay, we're going to block their surveillance? That would be the best thing. Don't overregulate something else. Don't take away the freedoms of Americans. Why don't we just start making sure that foreign governments don't have access to our surveillance, don't have access to our national security, don't have access to our phones? That would probably be the smartest thing. And again, they're buying our lands. So I'm not for TikTok. But when we say, okay, well, you have to divest. So what's going to happen is this. If we're saying they're having to divest, we're telling a company that they're too big and they have to sell to a local or other provider. So that could be kind of sketch too, because what if all of a sudden they come to Elon Musk and say, well, Elon, you've got too much. You own space, you own internet sites, and you own Twitter. You've got to sell Twitter. Remember, that's the public access. That's the forums. That's where we're getting what we call the public square now. So what if all of a sudden they tell Elon that? Would that be illegal? He's an American citizen, but hey, he's too big. He's too big, he's got too much power. However, we're not doing that in any other facet. However, if we really want to get serious about keeping our kids safe and keeping surveillance safe and keeping us safe, we would take all the exemptions we've given social media companies in law that no Republican or Democrat will stand against. Yes, we're going to tax them. We're going to look at them as a true business. No, they won't touch those issues, but they'll touch TikTok bans because they know eventually it could help them get to more conservative suppression. It could get them more to suppression of Twitter. It can get them suppression of Parler or, you know, Rumble or whatever it may be that's not going along with the narrative. That's what scares me the most. And that means our freedoms of, you know, the First Amendment rights of free speech, free expression, freedom of the press, all that is the ones that are going to be suppressed. It's not going to be the Chinese. Because look, there was a story not too long ago where the Chinese were buying literally land right next to a military site. That wasn't too smart, was it? But we allowed it to happen. So why are we allowing them to buy true physical property in America, but we're worried about our intellectual property? We're worried about technological property. To me, that's where it gets into a fine line of actually what is your narrative here? And I think the narrative is actually control. So should we be dependent on any foreign government to run any business in our countries? No. However, if we start going down this road, this is a slippery slope that I think will ultimately cause the freedoms of Americans to go away. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Do I believe that there should be some things that we should understand that our freedoms and our rights shouldn't be suppressed, but there's some things that we shouldn't know because of national security. I shouldn't know everything that the main, you know, big players in special forces or CIA knows. If they're there to keep us safe, then I understand that. You can't just release all that. However, we can't say that we're going to protect Americans this way, but we won't protect the border this way. We can't say we're going to protect Americans by banning TikTok, but we're going to allow drones to come over and surveil us, balloons to come over and surveil us. We can't say we're going to protect Americans this way and all of a sudden allow the Chinese to buy physical property that's tied to the same government that they're trying to ban in TikTok. So you get what I'm saying, and here's the thing. Your Democrats and Republicans are playing both sides. They'll make excuses, and all it is to try to get you to vote for them like they're doing something great for you. My last point is this. This is where I cannot stand Congress. Do you realize you elect them and basically put them in Washington to be your representation, to make more laws and more regulation to control you? Do you realize that? I mean, let's go back. All they do full time is really make law for you and argue back and forth about how they can better see control of your goods, your money, and spend your money and not actually give you freedom. I've never seen a group of people go to Washington to less regulate, less tax, and less spend. Really, they may say that's what we're going up there to do, but they all end up changing their mind once they get there because they get power. And all they do is sit up there and basically take your money and then basically give you more laws to follow. Just think about that for a second. Is that really what Congress was for? That's why I'm fully against this TikTok ban. I can't stand TikTok. I don't believe anybody should be on TikTok. However, it is not the rights of the government to take it away or make a business divest. Because I believe in a perfect world that sounds great, but in the world we live in, that gives a lot of power to DC, gives a lot of power to leadership to ultimately suppress and to take away the rights of information to most Americans. All in the name of quote unquote national security. What can be deemed national security? Look at climate. It's the same way. If it's deemed bad for the climate, it's deemed bad. Cows, you know, this grass, rice, this, it allows them to use that terminology of, well, it's bad for national security, so well, we got to take that away. It's almost a new Patriot Act. That's what scares me, and that's why I'm fully against the ban of TikTok. Yes, should we make sure there's no extra surveillance here? Yes. Yes, should you as a parent not allow your children to have TikTok? Absolutely. However, it is not the right of government to take things away from the American people by law, because I believe it's a slippery slope that we will not be able to climb back up. It's just my thoughts for the day. Give me your thoughts. I know this is a hot topic. I want to know what you think, because I know that if you give them this power to tell a business they have to divest, to tell a government they can't own this or own that, at the same time actually doing a double standard about the land, and then allowing for suppression because it's the name of national security against the opposition, I think that could be very, very dangerous in the years to come. Give me your thoughts. Let me know below. Guys, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.
River's gonna cry when you're gone.